Hello, and welcome to Northwestern Dream TV. I'm your host, Gessner. Alright, first of all, I need to give out a shout out to my co-host, Perry Boyko, for putting down not only one, but two giant deer this year. He started off the season by shooting a giant, non-typical mule deer with his bow, and then he finished off the season by shooting a giant typical whitetail with his rifle. So congratulations, Perry, on a job well done. Alright, so now that deer season is out of the way, the next thing we focus on is coyote snaring. Now, I've been doing pretty good so far. I've already got a few on the board, as you can see here behind me. And I've been posting a few pictures online, and there's been a few questions come about on how it is that I'm catching so many coyotes this year. So rather than explaining it one-on-one, I figured I'd just put together this short little video, and we'll show exactly what it is that I'm doing. So this is going to be step one, or part one of a 5-part mini-series. Right, so the first thing that you're going to need to do, if you want to do some coyote snaring, is you're going to need the permits. So the first thing you'll need is your Saskatchewan resident South Fur license, and on top of that, if you want to use snares, you're also going to need to go down and talk to a conservation officer and get a power snare permit as well, and I've got mine right here. So you'll need both of those permits before you can even get started. When it comes to ordering some supplies, there's only two places that I purchase all my trapping gear from, and one is KD Ventures in Nipawin, so Don and Karen Gordon, great people to do business with, and the other one is Dam Beaver Trapping Supply in Ryan, Saskatchewan. And Ian and Corey are also great people to do business with, so either one of these two companies, they'll be happy to take your money for whatever supplies you need. Alright, so speaking of supplies, I'm going to show you exactly the supplies that I use. So if you plan to snare a few coyotes, obviously you're going to need a few snares. So let's start with those. So these are #1 power snares. Okay, and so when you're purchasing these, you'll need at least 6, I would say, in order to get your line started. Now, personally, I have a few dozen in the field. I set anywhere from 8 to 12 or 14 per bait. So it depends on how many baits you want to run and how involved you want this to get. But I would say start with no less than 6. Okay, so when you get your snares, you see how they come with snare lead in there. Now that little lead, it comes with the thin wire that's legal in Saskatchewan. It's really no good. Just throw it away. I don't use those at all. This is exactly why. This is what happens when a coyote wants to chew himself out of one of these snares. 40% chew out rate with these ones. So I'm going to show you exactly how to build your own snares, and hopefully you don't have the same problems that I did when I was using those. Okay, so this is the wire that I'm using. It's a 1/16 inch thick wire, and it's a 1x19 wire. So what that means is there's 19 individual strands of wire in here, and they're all wound together to make a 1/16 inch thick wire. So this is what I use. Now I'd suggest going ahead and order about 200 feet. That'll get you about 48 snares. Okay, now you also need these 1/16 double ferrules. So if you're going to use 200 feet of wire, you'll need 100 of these because you'll need 2 per snare. Also need these ram nuts. So get the heat treated ram nuts, the small size. So you'll need these in order to hold the snare in place, so get the heat treated ones. And you'll also need these Sullivan S hooks. So because I'm using the thicker wire, it still needs to break away at 280 pounds. So what these Sullivan S hooks do is at 280 pounds they will stretch wide open. So they will break free at 280 pounds, so this is your breakaway system. So I would suggest using the thicker cable, but you need to use this wire, or this Sullivan S hook in it to make it legal in Saskatchewan. Okay, you're also going to need 18 gauge mechanics wire, and when I'm done making my snares, I use trim-clad flat white paint. Okay, now to anchor your ram in place, I use 1/8 inch thick cable. I cut it into 7-foot strands, so depends on how many ram snares you plan to use. That determines how many feet of wire you're going to need. And for every ram you have, you're going to need 2 double ferrules here. And so again, I use 6 to 7 feet of wire, so 6 or 7 feet per ram. Okay, now in order to anchor the ram to the cable, what I use are these links here. Now these smaller ones that you can find at your local Cabela's store, these are too small to fit over the ram, so these won't fit. So you need to use these bigger ones, and trust me, it's worth the headache to use these instead of the snap rings. You can get away with using the larger snap rings, but do not use the smaller ones. This is exactly what happens when you try using one of the smaller ones. I had a coyote in there that was alive a little bit too long, and he was able to twist his way out. And so not only did I use the coyote, I also lost the ram snare as well. So that's a few dollars worth that I lost. And so yeah, avoid using the small snap clips. So if you are going to use any of them, use the big ones. Okay, but honestly, I like using these much better than the snap clips. I know they freeze up on you a little bit. You might have to carry a wrench or a Leatherman with you, but in my opinion, it's better than losing snares. Okay, so we're going to do 5 short sessions. So this is session number 1. So this is ordering the supplies that you need. Then we're going to do session number 2, which is going to be putting your snares together once you have the supplies. Then we're going to do session number 3, which is going to be putting those snares in the field once you have your permits and your snares put together. Number 4, session 4 is going to be checking those snares and resetting them after you catch something. And then number 5 is going to be skinning and putting the fur up on the boards. Okay, so thanks for watching Northwestern Dream TV. We'll catch you again in the next couple of days for session number 2. So on behalf of myself, Gord Gessner, thanks again for watching.